Yo, what's up, man? Welcome back to the No Hedging Podcast. I am your host, Ty the Fly Jet. I'm here with my co-host, Mr.
Rip 16, the GOAT, man. You already know. Real fly hippie type talking today. Let's go.
Yep. Welcome back to another episode, man. This week we had a divisional round in the NFL playoffs. Very exciting games. A few of them very exciting. Some of them,
Yeah, it was nah, I ain't gonna say it. It was one of them that turned into some mid, but the rest of them, that was good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so shout out to the new subs, man. If you guys just recently subscribed to the channel, we really, really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow.
Yes, sir.
And if you don't know, if this is your first time checking out our episode, this episode we're going to be talking about our takeaways from the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, man.
Ooh-wee.
So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if this is your first time checking out our video.
And share with your people, man.
And make sure you share with your NFL people, man, your sports fans. But let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to talk about the first game on the divisional round, which was the Texans and the Ravens, man. What are some of your takeaways from that game?
Ooh. So watching that game, the Ravens came out there, kind of what we talked about, not having that time off, not
had a little rust on them.
A little bit of rust.
A little rust. Started slow.
A little sluggish a little bit.
Yep.
But once they got into their groove, it was just everything was all Ravens at that point. It was a lot of penalties against the Texans. I don't know if that was them showing their young age. But you're not winning a game against a team that good, getting 10 penalties.
That's the benefit of getting that number one seed.
Yeah. but some of that was them, just veterans doing savvy stuff. They had them jumping off sides on short yardage, you know what I'm saying? Cutting the field down, just things like that. So the Ravens just dominated. Lamar Jackson looked good on the field again.
MVP.
Didn't have to have any real huge receiving numbers, but I think he picked his spots to run very well, which which I think he deserves a little bit more credit for this season. I think he's still continuing to run the ball because he's a scrambling quarterback, but he picks his spots a lot better. Yeah. So I think that's, what got him MVP at this point of the season and looking like a Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah, he had like over 100 rushing yards. He had less than 200 passing yards. He was very balanced.
Yeah, that kind of fucked me up a little bit on props, but
yeah, he was pretty balanced in terms of his offense. You know what I mean? And he had two rushing touchdowns. Yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns, 152 yards passing, 100 yards rushing. On the flip side of that, C.J. Stroud came down to earth a little bit against that defense.
Yeah, that defense is crazy. That Ravens defense, man.
The Ravens defense is still looking unbeatable. It's pretty much, I'll be like, what do you do with that?
They tried to run the football, not happening. Devin Singletary had like 22 yards rushing.
No.
The over-under is like 50, 54, something like that.
Yeah,
I took the under. I knew what time it was.
He ain't getting nowhere near it.
But yeah, Lamar Jackson, let me go back to him, man. My MVP, shout out to Lamar, put in that future in September.
My quarterback.
Cashed it in. When the MVP comes out and I get cashed in for that future on Lamar Jackson, you guys will see Lamar Jackson jersey. You know what I mean?
Bring out the Lamar Jackson jersey. Bring out the money.
He showed this weekend why he was the best quarterback in the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he took the game over. At halftime, it was 10-10. He wasn't satisfied with how the offense was playing. They wasn't putting up enough points. And he turned it up. You know what I mean? They went ahead and they started punching the ball in the end zone. He running the ball down the field, scoring points, scoring touchdowns. So Lamar Jackson really took over that game.
Do you think that cold weather had an impact on the Texans in that game?
It probably has some impact, but I think, being that the Texans are a indoor dome team primarily, but I just think, them being on the road in that environment, mind you, this is the first playoff game that the Ravens were playing this year. So that crowd was just fired up. You know what I'm saying? So being in that environment, that had a role on it, which caused those penalties and caused all the little minor mistakes that really impacted the game and impacted the Houston Texans offense because they couldn't get anything going.
No,
you know,
not
they
at
didn't
all.
score any offensive touchdowns. They just got a field goal and a punt return for a touchdown. So that was all they had, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah. So, but that was the game that went, you know, pretty much how we kind of expected it. We kind of saw it going that way. Well, not really. We was thinking that the Texans would be a little bit more competitive,
scoring
a little bit closer, and the Ravens would be a little bit more sluggish. But once they got going, they just took off, and they weren't able to score offensively. Yeah, curtain call for those boys, real quick, like. But the next game on the slate, we had the Packers versus the 49ers. Now, what did you think about that one? Because that was a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, that game was very interesting.
Yeah.
Jordan Love, he didn't play his best game, but he played a good enough game to keep the Packers in the game.
Right.
Obviously, with Debo getting hurt early, that played a huge role on the San Francisco 49ers offense because Debo, it did, bro. Because when Debo was in the game, that was who they were going to. You know what I'm saying? He had like 2 or 3 targets or touches on that drive that he got injured. So that was the game plan. It was Debo. Then he got injured, and they started stalling out a little bit offensively. Brock Purdy wasn't playing as well.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
The only reason I was saying that, though, is just because Debo Samuel, honestly, over the past maybe month or a month and a half, maybe, it's not like he's had a huge role in the offense in terms of just him coming out and dominating. Mm-hmm. Actually, they use Brandon Ayuk a lot more than they use Debo Samuel. They tried, you know, doing a couple run plays to Debo, kind of, you know, of course, him playing wide receiver as well, but I don't think he had like these huge, massive impacts on them winning certain games. It was more so McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and Kittle having some big games. So he's been a part of it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Debo Samuels didn't go out there and do anything. He's a phenomenal player. He goes out there and make plays happen. But I'm just saying, as far as them needing him to beat some of their opponents, they've been able to do it by concentrating with Ayuk and Kittle and then just let McCaffrey, you know, do what McCaffrey does.
I guarantee you, if Debo didn't get injured, they would have won by more than 3 points.
Okay.
I guarantee you that.
Okay. I like Debo Samuel, so I don't want it to be misconstrued. But I'm just saying that I think the 49ers offense is that good that they can function without Debo Samuel.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. 2 touches for 24 yards. That's 12 yards average. That's a first down every time he touched the ball. Yeah. They were moving the ball with Debo Samuels in the game.
But injured. George Kittle had 4 receptions at 81 yards. That's 20.
Yeah.
Every time. So that's all I'm saying is just that they have these different guys. Brandon Ayuk has 61, 5 catches. Mm-hmm. That's 12 yards too. So what I'm saying is they have all these different weapons, which they're stacked offense. Mm-hmm. We know that, which helps them in a situation where one guy goes down. Okay, well, you still got McCaffrey, Kittle, and Ayuk. Right.
They got options, but their playbook gets a little bit smaller when Debo ain't there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, because what about Juwan Jennings stepping up in his place?
He had to. But what I like about Juwan Jennings, because I took the over on his yards too. He was 16 yards.
Yeah.
I took the over. I think his longest reception, 16. But Juwan Jennings, Brock Purdy liked Juwan Jennings.
Okay.
He has a connection with Juwan Jennings. So in games where all the players, all the stars are there anyways, Brock Purdy is going to find Juwan Jennings on like an in-breaking route 15, 20 yards down the field anyways. So, yeah, he did a great job stepping up because he had to. And that just shows you the value of Debo Samuels, because if that's Debo, you know what I mean, the game is completely different. You know what I'm saying? So all those touches and targets that Juwan Jennings had, to your point, or to what you're saying, that should have went to Kittle, McCaffrey, Ayuk, you know what I'm saying? But it took Juwan Jennings to step up in Debo's place, in Debo's absence. So that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the success that the 49ers have is because of Debo Samuel. He's able to take a short run, like all of them are, but he's very dynamic. He can take a run 50 yards to the house, 60 yards to the house. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's very physical. He's fast, all these different things. So you take that out, you know, you remove a piece of Kyle Shanahan's offense, and he has to adjust to it. And that's why I think the Packers kind of stuck around in the game, is because they had a hard time kind of adjusting to the fact that Debo wasn't there.
So you think the difference to keep the game close was basically Debo Samuels being out?
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it.
My only argument against that, I think I misspoke. The 60 yards and five receptions was Juwan Jennings. So Debo was averaging 12. He came out and got he got 61, so he got 12.2 a carry. So he kept up the production. But I'm just saying that I think credit to the Packers, their defense slowed up a dynamic offense as much as
they play well,
as much as you possibly can with that offense, other than the Ravens, who were able to basically put it to a halt. But
now Brock Purdy didn't play great.
He did. Brock Purdy did not play great, and that went back to our question where we had our little mini debate.
Jordan Love
or Brock Purdy. Who do you think played better in that game?
They both was looking a little sus.
He said they both looked a little sus.
But I think just by looking at it, I don't know the exact stats, but looking at the game, I think certain moments, I think Jordan Love played a little bit better. Obviously, the stats probably not going to show that because of those interceptions.
No, he got 2 picks. He got 2 touchdowns with 2 picks.
Yeah, but one of those interceptions was one that
that last pick was what?
He's just trying to force something and make something happen. That was a bad decision. Purdy could have had another interception in the first drive to Darnell Savage. You know what I'm saying? That could have been a pick 6, but he dropped it.
Yeah.
And Purdy was throwing some balls in the dirt. You know what I mean? So defense. Like outside of that final drive that Purdy, he scrambled, got about 9 yards, put him inside the 5 to push them into the end zone to get the final score to get the lead. Outside of that, Purdy was very Okay. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, credit to the defense on the Packers' behalf for being able to, not let the game get out of hand with all these stars and Kittle and breaking tackles down the field and Ayuk going crazy. But I think over a period of time, they that defense ran out of juice at the end of the game. They couldn't hold up when it mattered most.
I mean, so after seeing that game, do you feel like Brock Purdy ever being in the MVP conversation was bullshit, or you feel like it was still valid?
I mean, the stats prove that it was valid, right? Because if you're looking at the MVP from a statistical standpoint, he had the numbers. Okay. So I can see why he was in the conversation at the time. You know what I'm saying? Because we can say the same thing about Dak Prescott, right? He had the numbers. He folded under pressure in the playoffs, but he had the numbers to be in the MVP conversation throughout the season.
I still disagree that he folded this year, but
hey, 2-5 in the playoffs, he folded every time I see him there. I'm gonna just tell you that. You under 500 in the playoffs, it ain't just the team around you. At some point, you gotta look in the mirror and say, "All right, it's the quarterback."
I just feel like McCaffrey should have been in higher consideration. The man scored a touchdown for 17 games straight.
Yeah, 100%.
And without him.
But at the same time,
when Brock Purdy went down, he had to play backup quarterback last season.
Right, I get that. But this
guy's not regular.
But when you talking about Dak Prescott, I mean, Dak Prescott numbers didn't start getting good until he started targeting and hitting CeeDee Lamb as often as he should. So you take away CeeDee Lamb,
but he changed up his throwing technique. He changed up, his routine, his whole drop back pattern and all. He changed some things this season to make him a better quarterback. So I give him credit for that, even though I'm still not a Dallas fan. Glad they lost. However, I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that one. But yeah, the 49ers squeaked out of that one.
Yeah, they
squeaked out because the Packers still could have beat them.
Packers came to play, man. They came down. They got the ball. They was driving down the field. First drive. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown on that first drive. They kicked a field goal, but they were moving the football very well. Aaron Jones, once again, had another decent game running the football against this defense that we thought was super duper stout, but it looks like they have some issues in the secondary here and there.
They've been had some issues in the secondary. They had a couple games where Charvarius Ward got cooked.
Yeah, I think it's because Ufunga's injured too. Like, he was done for the season.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Ufunga. But Charvarius Ward was getting cooked at one point in the season. Now, after they had their bye week and they got Chase Young, he kind of tightened up and cleaned it up some.
Yeah, and then Gibson old. So you got issues on the back end. You know what I'm saying? Where Ufunga's out, Gibson old. I like De'Amon Lamore. I like him. Lenore, number 2, he fire. Dog. You know what I'm saying? But that other corner, they need help on that other end on the outside. But yeah, their secondary is where. And then another thing, I don't think did Jordan Love get sacked? I don't recall Jordan Love getting sacked.
I know he had a lot of pressure, but he might have not got sacked. I don't know if there were any sacks in that game.
No, he did not get sacked.
No sacks.
So you got all these dogs on the defensive
49ers
line.
only had one sack, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying as far as that 49ers defense, you got all these dogs on that line, but you didn't get no sacks. So, I mean, that just goes to show how good the Green Bay offensive line is. You know what I'm saying? Holding up against those guys, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, you know, and those guys like that. So, shout out to Green Bay, man. They came to play. They weren't even supposed to be here. But they made it here, and they got something to build on. All these guys are young.
They were betting with house money, and they made some good wagers on that bet. So shout out to Matt LaFleur and those guys. They played phenomenal and did a great job. You know, unfortunately at the end of the game, things kind of fell apart a little bit for them. Yeah, especially that last drive.
They could have stole one.
They could have stole one. That was this close. Next game on the slate, we had which one was it? The Buccaneers versus the Lions.
Yeah.
Buccaneers versus Lions. That was another game where they came out. First of all, Detroit fans come out fired up. All right. I can hear how loud they are through the TV.
I'm telling you, that energy.
I can feel them rocking the stadium.
I told you that last week. That energy's different.
They was fired up again. Now, I thought that first game, I'm like, okay, it's been over 30 years since they had one. They come out screaming, but they came out again.
Mm-hmm.
And they pulled it off. Now, the Buccaneers was on their head for a minute now.
They gave him a fight.
Mm-hmm. They did that. They scored, and they decided to go for two. I guess that was an analytics decision, as they say.
I don't understand that.
They say it was analytics. You go for two, you get it now. And then if you don't get it, you go for two again, and you get a chance to tie it.
So you increasing your chances of converting because you're going for two.
You going for two, twice. And you getting a chance to win twice. So if you go for two and you get it that first time, you can kick a field goal, you win.
Right.
So I guess that's the logic and the analytics behind it.
If I'm playing Madden, I'm going for the field goal. And I'll go for two at the end of the game if I need to.
Yeah, I think you take the 7 points first.
Yeah.
Now maybe you pull
I've seen that happen a few times this year though. A lot of teams been doing that.
It's a lot of analytics, you know. It's
I don't understand.
I felt like I was a kid genius when I used to play Madden. I used to do shit like that. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes
ahead of the time.
I was ahead of my time. Bro. I used to go for it on fourth down,
4th and 7, 4th and 10, all the time.
Less than 5 yards.
Yeah,
I'm going for it.
Fake
especially
field goal,
when we had
fake
Michael
punt.
Vick. Are you serious?
We going for it on 4th down.
But hey, they put it in the real game now. So, I didn't necessarily like that decision, but credit to the Detroit Lions defense. They stepped up in certain spots when they needed to.
Yeah.
Even though Mike Evans, he started cooking a little bit on
later on in the game. Yeah, they put him in. They put Cam Sutton in man coverage, and he just blown by him. And
Cam Sutton, boy,
got cooked, but he did a good job holding together. Mike Evans was like dropping some passes. Mike Evans, he has a dropsy sometimes. I don't understand it, but that's what really turned the game and sparked the game inside in Detroit's favor. Was that first pick when Mike Evans dropped it going across the middle? He was surrounded by like 8 Lions because they was playing prevent defense. It was like 3rd and 17.
Yeah.
Pick, and then that's kind of what sparked and gave Detroit the juice. But I think Tampa Bay. It took them a while to get in motion, get into a rhythm. I think in the second half, Baker Mayfield started, making some plays and kind of wheeling and dealing and actually getting the ball down the field and targeting Mike Evans and getting Chris Godwin in the mix. And Kate Otten as well. So he was getting them boys in rhythm and kind of slowly but surely picking apart that defense. And then they had a decent run. They was running the ball pretty well as well. It's just I just feel like defensively they didn't get enough pressure on Jared Goff. They didn't disrupt Jared Goff often enough. And then when they did, this is what Philly didn't do. Jared Goff converted on 3rd down. They had an in route. They had a slant route that Jared Goff can hit Amon-Ra St. Brown for that first down, or hit Laporta for the first down on an in route. You know what I'm saying? So credit to the Lions. They played very well. Jahmyr Gibbs beast. We already know what he's going to be about. That 1-2 punch between Gibbs and Montgomery. You got speed and strength.
It's scary because you don't know which one of them is going to get off on the game either.
They can do different things, man. Jameer can catch out the backfield and take the ball to the house. He can run it in between the tackles, outside the tackles. And then Montgomery, he's going to be physical when it's time to ground the pound inside the 5. They can go ahead and make some, run it straight down your throat 3 times in a row. So they brought it, man. They really brought it. They almost, kind of gave it up. Jared Goff almost threw a pick in the end zone. Dean, he dropped it.
Yeah,
but
that was almost big, boy. He
bailed
him out.
Bailed him out. But I think Detroit, they got that energy, that momentum from the crowd that's kind of giving them that juice. Now they take their talents on down to San Francisco. We'll see what happens then. But
what do you speaking of see what happens? Now the Buccaneers is another team that exceeded expectations.
They did. They weren't supposed to be there.
These first 3 games that we talked about, these are teams that at the beginning of the season nobody expected these people to be here or be around nor win a division.
Right.
So, except me. But do you think the Buccaneers are solidified at quarterback with Baker Mayfield at this point?
For right now.
For right now, you think they're good?
Now.
They settled on Baker. What do you feel like they need to improve them to make them better?
I mean, they got the offensive weapons. I think they need to run the football a little bit better. The secondary is hit or miss. I mean, you got all pro back there. You got good corners that play man-to-man coverage. That's pretty solid. The linebackers are good as well. They might need to kind of get some better pass rush. I think they have a solid team in general, which is why they made it this far, obviously.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got the linebackers are arguably 2 of the best in the game as well. You know what I'm saying? Levante David and Devin White. So those are 2 studs. But they need, Shaq Barrett is a pass rusher. He won a Super Bowl. So, I mean, you got guys on that team. The only issue was their quarterback. You know what I'm saying? But I think if they can run the ball a little bit more effectively, they'll be good. But Baker Mayfield, I mean, he's just a baller. You know what I'm saying? He's going to ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think now that he's been through a few different teams, he's gotten a little bit older. He understands the game a little bit. I saw that when he was with the Rams last season, how he kind of took over for that short period of time and kind of took control of the offense. So, I mean, Baker's going to Baker at the end of the day, right? Get sacked and things like that. But, I mean, obviously he has things to improve on, but I don't think he's your franchise guy. I think he's good for probably about 3 years.
3 tutties, 349 yards. He had 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Jared Goff had 287 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
But Jared Goff also had 2 running backs, one of them getting about 50 yards, one of them getting 74 yards rushing. Mike Evans had 147 and a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to, place too much blame. The 2 picks, we can talk about the 2 interceptions, of course, but
one wasn't his fault.
Yeah, one wasn't. So, Baker Mayfield has exceeded expectations in a lot of people's books. So I was just curious to know what your thoughts were on Baker. But
sign him for about 2-3 years and, see what happens.
Yeah,
but he took you to the playoffs, took you to a divisional round.
They need another weapon for them to take another step. But I think credit to the Detroit Lions. I think, they showed that they can stop some run. They can play some pretty decent run defense. They can obviously score points. They got their dynamic offense. They have a lot of weapons. The passing defense rather, still leaves a lot to be desired.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
they gonna
overall, they're gonna get cooked.
They're gonna get
cooked. But overall, they play with a lot of tenacity. Now, like you said, we're gonna see how they do when they take their talents on the road on up to San Fran. Mm-hmm. But we're gonna talk about that in the rundown.
Yep.
Last game on that divisional round slate, we had the Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills, man.
What a game.
Yeah, what a game. Very, very up and down, intense, back and forth. A lot of punches thrown, a lot of counter punches thrown right back.
Lead changes.
They pushed that one all the way down to the wire. So, what say you about that game, man?
All right, so let's talk about the Chiefs. All right.
You said they was gonna lose.
I did, but I also said I don't like betting against Patrick Mahomes either. Trust me. I didn't like the bet, but I had to pick one. Now the Chiefs. What I liked about the Chiefs, man, they were able to get Travis Kelce in the mix. They were able to get him back going. He had 2 touchdowns, 74 yards or something like that, 5 catches. So he was very effective in the passing game, which Patrick Mahomes needed, especially being on the road in that environment. Rashee Rice, he had some key plays as well. Didn't have the crazy stats that he had in the previous game, but he was able to be an option for Patrick Mahomes and helping him out. Now, Pacheco, obviously run game was effective also during that game. Defensively, I was a little bit concerned about the Kansas City Chiefs defense. They was allowing a lot of rushing yards with the Bills. You know, the Bills were sticking to that run game for a little bit. But then on the flip side, when things started getting down to the wire, they started pressing. Yeah. Josh Allen started putting the ball in his hand. It was just a lot of mistakes that the Bills had made that could have had them win this game. You know, a couple drops on big plays down the field, one to Sherfield and the other one to Stephon Diggs. Good passes on the money that were dropped that are game-changing plays, explosive plays. And that's what you need in games like this. You need to convert on those explosive plays down the field in order to win these type of games, right? So, especially against the Chiefs. So, those 2 things happen. Then on the final drive of, the Bills trying to score, you got, Josh Allen pressing the button a little bit too harder. He's looking for the home run shot. Instead of doing, Stephon Diggs running wide open on, I think it was 2nd and 9 or something like that, running the crossing route wide open. Josh Allen could have checked that down to him and picked up maybe the first down or got closer to it.
He could have.
But he's looking in the end zone, threw a ball in the end zone, incomplete pass, come back the next play, does the same thing.
But like you said, Stephon Diggs had some drops too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen that check down play you was talking about, which would have made more sense instead of taking that end zone shot at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I hollered it out at the screen.
Yeah, he's open.
I'm like, Diggs.
He's open.
and then he threw it all the way downfield.
He threw it to Shakir in the end zone.
Missed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely seen that. But, of course, the game is coming at you fast. You got people rushing at you. Of course, we can see it because nobody's chasing after us. But he didn't throw any interceptions in that game. He did have a fumble that they fortunately recovered.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you make of him being the leading rusher of the Bills? Do you think that's good or bad for him if he's the leading rusher?
If in a game where you got to try to win, I don't care who the leading rusher is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He is their best rusher on the team, arguably. You know what I'm saying?
You don't think James Cook is better?
He's good, but, I mean, you got Allen. He's 6'6", 230 pounds, and he's fast. You know what I'm saying? So just the stature and the frame, when that truck gets rolling, it's hard to stop that truck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you don't want your quarterback getting hit up by L'Jarius Sneed.
But he loves it.
Chris Jones and all that. He's gonna love it.
Josh Allen loves it. He wants
love
to,
it.
He wants to carry that load. He wants to carry that on his shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
He gonna love it all he wants. The GM and the coach, they are like, slide, get the fuck down.
He doesn't slide. He don't know what the slide is.
Cut it out. So I mean. But me looking at that game, yeah, I do agree with a lot of the points you made, but I do give a lot of credit to the Kansas City Chiefs for making plays happen. They were getting hit in the mouth in a lot of plays, and they still turned around and they showed up. Now, Isaiah Pacheco, he runs like, he's upset at the world, and he looks like Cat Williams running the 440. But he ran, he got 97 yards rushing, he got a couple tutties. He got a lot of yards after catch sometimes when I ain't gonna say a lot, but he got some yards after catch when he did catch the ball out of the backfield. He made plays happen. He was very dynamic, and I think somebody made a good point of saying this is probably the best I've seen the Chiefs offense look and function throughout the entire season.
Absolutely.
Rashee Rice was a little banged up. That's a cause for concern because you don't want him banged up going into that championship game. But Travis Kelce, Made a good amount of catches. You had a good game out of Pacheco. Another good Patrick Mahomes game. You know, we was a little bit concerned about how he would play on the road, but no interceptions, over 200 yards passing. Overall, the Chiefs' offense looked the best I've seen them look. And in a pressure situation in the biggest game of the season for y'all, that's what you want. On the road, in a hostile environment, the fans out there throwing snowballs at them.
Yeah.
Lighting them up.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs deserve a lot of credit for that win too.
They do.
It wasn't just a collapse, even though the Bills were in there up into that field goal downwind that just got sailed. You know what I'm saying? I don't blame the kicker for that.
I don't blame the kicker for that. No.
He had a good angle, but the wind just caught it, the higher one.
Like I said, those 2 plays before that,
it probably were bigger.
Those 2 plays before that, where Josh Allen's going for the kill shot, going for the home run. You know what I'm saying? You had so much time left on the clock. You didn't need to shoot for the end zone if the look wasn't available.
But I said that.
You know what I'm saying?
Josh Allen is going to come out there and Josh Allen.
He going to Josh Allen.
He's going to press. He's a gunslinger. He's going to want to throw the ball downfield, and it's going to cause a mistake.
Yeah.
The question is, when is it going to cause a mistake, and is it going to be a critical mistake?
Yeah.
And I think in that case it was, because it was a tight game. Now, it's not going to show up on the stat sheet like that because he didn't throw any interceptions, which is good for him because he still left his team.
Those are those plays that mean a lot, though.
But yeah, those are plays that mean a lot. And that could have easily been one of those plays where he ends up being picked off in another situation. But fortunately for him, it was just a missed pass. But I think the Bills, you know, coming off of that loss, they're going to have to look at it and evaluate it a little bit different this time around. They're going to have to, you know, probably shake some stuff up. I know
they're going to have to.
Faith.
It's going to be a lot of changes.
Roster, but they got to make some changes over there.
No, because those contracts are done. They expired. They got too much money. They over the cap. It's a lot to be.
Yeah, the fans over the cap, too. Stop telling them that you about to beat Mahomes with that roster.
Yeah, the Bills, that team is about to be a whole new looking team next season because of a lot of different things. But to their credit, man, they was able to stick throughout that game, and they were very, you know, depleted on the defensive side of the football. You know what I'm saying? They lost a lot of key players this year.
If they had their defense, that might be a different conversation.
Yeah.
Because they might have had better field position in certain spots. They might have been able to get a couple turnovers. You know, different things could have happened had the defense been up to par and fully healthy. But
no excuses. You play with who on the roster.
No excuses. You got to play with who you got. You know,
injuries are not an excuse, man. I'm over that, unless it's at the quarterback position.
Come on, man.
Everybody else is replaceable. That quarterback, though, is kind of hard to replace that QB.
Hell, well, we found out that was a lie, too. This season, we saw the most backup quarterbacks we ever seen in our life, at least in mine.
I don't see any backup quarterbacks in the playoffs right now.
I don't know about you.
I don't see any of them backup quarterbacks in the playoffs right now.
But I'm saying throughout the season, this is the most we've ever seen.
That's throughout the season. I'm talking about, we talking playoffs when it matters. That quarterback is irreplaceable. You can have injuries in every other position. But if you have an injury in that quarterback position in the playoffs, chances of you winning that game slim to none. Regular season, that's cool. I don't see any backup quarterbacks in the playoffs.
Not no more. No, they out now. So
yeah, because they got in there because of their defenses.
Okay. All right. Well, man, you know, that was the games for the divisional round. It was a very interesting weekend of football. Very, very high intensity games. A lot more competitive than it was in
Let's
the
go
wild card.
Ravens, man.
So yeah, it's a lot of teams that's looking good. It's some that had the battle. They was looking a little bit on the fence, but
big trust, flock. You know what time it is? Flock game. You know what I mean? Ravens Ravens. That's what it is.
But yeah, man, we're gonna get right back into it, man, because it's only a few games left, and you know we got to come back and talk about that Final Four when we get to the rundown, man. Shout out to y'all. Make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe. Shout out to Lord Family Movement for the fitted. Shout out to
LFM. Shout out LFM.
Shout out to Fly Hippie.
Fly Hippie. Shout out.
You know, for the snap.
Grab your merch.
Appreciate it, man. But yeah, man, y'all stay tuned with us. Keep showing that love so we can keep showing it back, man.
Peace.